Hey folks, and welcome to our third and final video for the day. And in our last video, you'll recall that we were talking about implicit bias and implicit bias training. And although implicit bias can have some pretty widespread effects on our behavior, it doesn't seem like it's that easy to actually reshape people's implicit bias. So if this isn't a good target for reducing prejudice, what might be?
Thankfully, there is something that has been relatively proven to work, and this is intergroup contact. Basically, the idea of just getting to know somebody from a group that you might not have initially positive associations with. And this hypothesis, this idea, was developed by Gordon Allport. We've heard from Allport before talking about prejudice. And here, he proposes that prejudice may be reduced by equal status contact between majority and minority groups. So this could be, for instance, like white and Black Americans, or like straight and LGBTQ individuals, in the pursuit of common goals. So you've got people who are on an even playing field and they're working towards the same thing. He says the effect is greatly enhanced if this contact is sanctioned by institutional supports. So if you have laws or customs or a local atmosphere that is supportive of equality, and provided it is of a sort that leads to the perception of common interests and common humanity between members of the two groups. So contact has been consistently shown to help break down stereotypes and prejudices, but it tends to be especially helpful under a really particular set of conditions. And these are the following. When contact is cooperative and working towards a shared goal. When contact is enjoyable and pleasant rather than difficult and stressful and burdensome. When contact between groups occurs under conditions of equal status. So, members of both groups working on an equal playing field rather than maybe having one group in a consistently higher status, higher power position. Being in an institutional context where the norms really support inclusion and diversity and equality. If you're in a context, a larger social context, where people think it's okay to have prejudice and they don't support equality, then contact can go on for a long time without actually breaking down any barriers. And finally, it's important that members end up acting in ways that are counter to the stereotypes about their larger groups. So if members of different groups get together and end up just kind of replicating and reifying the stereotypes that they have about each other, that could actually be damaging rather than helpful. And if you put all of these different ingredients together, you're more likely to end up with contact that actually leads people to see each other as individuals, to really understand that different members of these groups all have their own unique personalities and interests. And this is part of what causes the breakdown of stereotypes and prejudice. And one final detail about the contact hypothesis. A meta-analysis that was conducted by Linda Trope and her collaborator Thomas Pettigrew found that one of the main ways that contact works is through these more interpersonal channels of helping people become more comfortable with contact with members of an outgroup and increasing the degree of empathy that they felt for members of that group. So this is really rooted in the relationship that these people had with each other. It was also helpful that they were increasing their specific knowledge of what members of that other group were like, but this wasn't the most important factor in reducing prejudice.